Kilo 5, Victor Golf. Victor.
Roger, Roger. Thank you again for your call. Thank you. Your time over 9 here in Barcelona, Spain. The name is Lou. London, Oscar, Unifor. ¿Qué va a ser?
QSL, Lou. The name here is Jim, Julia, India, Mike, located in Texas, just north of Houston there, Roger.
Thank you very much for the good report. You fixed the time over 9 is excellent signal. 73, good afternoon. QSL.
I don't know if I gave you a sudden report or not. You are 59 here in Texas there, QSL.
Okay, thank you very much. 73. Easy America 3, Japan Echo, calling North America.
This is the SGC SG-2000. This is the version with the DSP head. I have another video where you see the standard version. This one is the DSP head that they brought out later for people that wanted a dial and also DSP functions. It works quite well. It is a radio that covers 1.6 to 30 megahertz, and it does that for both the receiver and the transmitter, so there is no specific ham bands, it just transmits everywhere. It was primarily developed for the for seagoing vessels as a marine radio, but like I said, when you put this head on here, this control head, then it basically becomes a ham radio, and it was also sold as such. Receiver works very well. The radio has a very good working digital signal processor. That was the claim to fame for this control head. Actually, this DSP function that this radio has works better than any other ham radio I've seen. Normally it makes the sound distorted. With this one you don't have that problem. Now you can program it in different step size. I know I've set it for 1 kilohertz. This is the noise suppressor.
Kilo November 4, Kilo Lima.
So this is with the DSP on. This is 13 dB as you can see here. This is 26 dB noise suppression. And now it's off again. Really works nice. Anyway, let's walk through a couple of the functions that this radio can do. The radio has quite a lot of features. You would have to really read the manual to figure them all out. I can show you a few. For instance, if we want to set a particular frequency, that is 14300 program. This is how you enter a direct frequency. You can also do things like change the step size. This is 5 kilohertz, 3 kilohertz, 1 kilohertz, 500 hertz and 100 hertz step size. You can change the backlight. Let's see, shift. That is all possible. The radio also has memories that can be programmed, and also pre-programmed marine channels. Don't ask me how to do that. I would have to really open up the manual for that. But I think it has 100 or 125 user programmable memories and about 300 or 400 marine pre-programmed channels. If you want to change the bands, now like I said, it's not really a ham radio. but you can change ham bands. The way they have done that is, let's see, bands, what you would do is you press this button, and then by turning this you can go to different bands. As you can see, it will step through the different ham bands. For each band it has a particular number of positions. And then when you're there, you press frequency and you can tune again. So it's a little bit different from regular ham radios. This is really a radio on its own. There isn't any radios like this, but it works quite well. Let's see how the transmitter is doing. Alright, I have it set for 14.3. We will switch to the dummy load, so we're not bothering anybody. I have my ES817 here at 14.3 as well. We have the watt meter, and we are dumping the power in this dummy load here. One, two, three, four, five. You can see modulation sounds very good, and the whole thing is perfectly on frequency. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is the Yaesu. Now the radio has a oven controlled reference oscillator, so it's good on frequency, but it takes about 3 minutes to warm up. So when you just turn it on, the radio will be a little bit off frequency, and then within 3 minutes it will be there and stays there. Now it has a standby mode. For instance, when I turn it off, as long as there is DC power, the oven will stay on, so then you prevent the warm-up time. The downside is that the radio the oven is on all the time, and I personally don't like that. Crystal ovens are basically artificial aging ovens, I call them. So there is a switch on the back where you can prevent that. I'll show you that in a minute. If you don't like that, you can just flip that switch, and then the oven will go off as well when you turn off the radio. Anyway, back to the antenna. A couple of things that I haven't shown you maybe. There is a low power mode. In low power the radio does about 50 watts. Low power is about 50 watts. And the radio also has an attenuator. I think it's 20, yeah, it's 20 dB, which you can use when the band is very crowded, maybe on 7 megahertz or 3.5 megahertz. So as you can see, it's quite an unusual one. Gives off good power from 2 parallel power amplifiers. Most marine radios have that. This might be a requirement. If one power amplifier fails, there is still a second one that puts out half the power, 75 watts. So I can open it, and we'll show you the insides as another thing that might be of interest here. So I took out the screws. We'll take off the top here. Comes off pretty easily. And this is what we have on the inside. This is the oven I was telling you about. It's at 11.94 reference frequency. This is the synthesizer section. This is the synthesizer and VCOs, I should say. This is the CPU underneath here. This is a shielded can. And here you basically see the receiver and the exciter part. These are the filters. It's built very well. It's that typical American construction of aluminum and steel, and very clean boards, nicely built. This is the cable that goes to the control head. It's also possible to use a remote head. I'll show you that in a minute when I show you the back. It was possible to remote control this radio through an RS-232. Now I actually have the program for that. SGC sold that separately. They have not maintained it, so it is a DOS program. It actually does work, but it's obviously primitive compared to today's standards. But it does work. By the way, SGC is not in business anymore, you might know that. And this radio was built up to 95, 96, I think. This DSP head came out later. The radio itself was launched in 1990, if I'm not mistaken, 1991 maybe. The control head came out later to facilitate hams that wanted to have a real dial. Let's have a look at the bottom part. This is where the power amplifier resides. Alright, got it upside down. You can see this thing is really built like a tank. There is this metal base that it's standing on. It has a pretty puny speaker. I am actually using an external speaker. That sounds a bit better, although you know, you can use it if you have nothing else. But it's not a big speaker. There we go. This is the bottom side with the power amplifier. You can see there is two parallel. Each section actually can do 100 watts. So at 75 watts each, it runs pretty leisurely. It's not stressed at all. These are the harmonics filters, 6 of them. And here is driver stages and some other logic control. The control head you obviously can't see. I'm not going to open that up, but that's another logic board which contains the DSP, the display, and the control electronics. You see, this is very well built. It's typical American construction. I love that. This thing is built like a tank and it's going to last forever. Very nice. It's kind of expectable that SGC wasn't able to make money off this radio. It's really built for the professional market, and hams usually are not willing to pay the kind of prices that come with professional equipment, so they could not compete against the Japanese. But as you can see, the way it's built, this is a good piece of equipment. Let's look at the rear apron. Here you see the back of the radio. Again, very professionally built, aluminum and steel, stainless steel hardware. This is for an external antenna tuner, which you can connect. This is for an external remote head. This is actually connecting the head on the front, so these are basically parallel. You can either use the one in the front or use an external one. This is the external speaker, and here is the RS-232 connector I was telling about, which allows you to control the radio remotely. Now this is that little switch that I was talking about, that you can turn the oven on or off. It is in the on position right now. If you turn it off, the oven will stay cool when the radio is turned off, even when you have the DC power connected to it. Massive ground terminal, and of course the SO239 Amphenol connector. UHF they used to call them, although it has nothing to do with UHF. And you know, just if you want to have a look at that, that's the one that you probably recognize. Now this is kind of funny, you know, all these radios nowadays have these flimsy plastic connectors, the power pole nonsense and all that stuff. This is good old American engineering. This is a massive terminal block that does what it's supposed to do, and it does it right. You just put these power cables on these screws here and you're ready to go. That will stay connected forever and get you high current and no plastic that can break. Good old American technology. A nice terminal strip. I wish all radios had that. So that's basically it, the SGC 2000 rear Apron. It doesn't have a fan, it doesn't need it. It doesn't get very hot unless you transmit really long, but the way the heat sinking is done is there is a center plate in which the top and the bottom PCB are mounted, and it's pretty thick, and it cools itself against all the aluminum around it, so that works quite efficient actually. Okay, that was basically it, the SGC SG-2000 with the DSP control head. Highlights for this radio are the large LCD, the incredibly robust build, the 150 watts from the two parallel power amplifiers that I showed you earlier. Very good receiver, excellent working DSP. Those are really the highlights for this radio. This radio has reached a bit of a cult status. Like I told you, SGC is not in business anymore. And these radios are so robust, they'll last forever. They outlived their maker. And right now it has reached a cult status. They're hard to find with the DSP control head. Usually you see him without that in the standard configuration. So I was glad to find this particular one. It even had the original microphone. Excellent radio, made in the USA. This particular one is like mint. I don't think it has been used much. And it only has a scuff here and there. Made in the USA. Thank you for watching this video.
Está escuchando ahí muchas cosas ahí como Filipinas, de España y todo lo más, ¿ok? Yo hablé solamente hoy, después de mucho tiempo hablé hoy, una llamada yo hablé con dos. Una llamada yo hablé con dos amigos ahí de la Scotland, 108 División. Y después uno amigo de Pensilvania en los Estados Unidos. Y lo próximo fue lo tuyo, de tu contacto. Obviamente esto son, ok, vamos siguiendo, ok, vamos animando, ok, para que la cosa vaya bien, ok. Yo voy siguiendo acá, quién sabe, ok, si escucha algo así. Ok, amigo Hilario. Bueno, Mr. Kim Bowie, David said right back to you, man. He's working on a radio project over there. Trying to straighten out for you. Stay on 3, Mr. Jim Bowie. He said roll that nickel right back. 8100 on the side. Jim Bowie, always a pleasure on my side. That's for dadgum sure. Hello, brother. 49. Good afternoon. Ron, did you let them damn dogs back in? Not yet. I gotta go do that right now. She's up good. Go. And real weak on this there, people. We did make it through. Good news. South America are you in, Adrian? Roger, Robert. Big pleasure to make contact with you. I live in the South America, in my country in Brazil, South America. Roger? Roger, in Brazil, South America. I just spoke to someone there, 3503 in Sao Paulo. What part of Brazil would you be in? Hi there. Well, you picked the 5 to 6 to 5 and 7 here. Good signal to South America there. Am I QTH in the Santa Barbara? QTH in Santa Barbara City, and I started in Sao Paulo, Roger.
Okay, that's exactly what I was speaking to a little earlier, a neighbor of yours, 3503. Adrian 100, South America. Pleasure to speak to you. Appreciate you coming back to my station. Have a great day. Enjoy the week and enjoy all this DX. 985, personal Robert, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. 73s to you. We'll be clear after your final, Adrian. You have a good day.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for the flowers. Have a good day also, 73. I hopefully catch you in the future, my friend. Good luck, 73. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.
You up this way once in a while or not?
I used to. I worked at an airline. We'd be up that way. You bring home or take overseas. Barry's one of these crazy guys who flies home-built airplanes. So if you see an old home-built airplane,
Roger on that. Well, we have a lot of home-built airplanes around here. He probably belongs to the local chapter 509. Chapter 509. And I used to belong to it, but I gave up flying some years ago and haven't been back to it. But I don't remember him from there. But he might be there.
So do I clear? No.
Thank you. That's the other two. Winter temperatures, I'll tell you that. But other than that, the rain has been kind of a pain, but
hubieron madres que perdieron sus hijos, hubieron esposas que perdieron sus esposos, hubieron familias que perdieron sus hijos.
It was a little on the foggy side for the Tidewater, Virginia area, but it is what it is, and right now it's Bravo 8, Victor Romeo Kilo. Kilo Bravo 8, Victor Romeo Kilo. You copy Whiskey 4 Juliet Papa Victor.